We're going to stick with basketball here, but unfortunately, it's some sad basketball news. Cade Cunningham, all-star for the Pistons, MVP caliber season. I don't think was necessarily the favorite to win the MVP, but a guy who is having the best individual season, and this will still be the case, the best individual season that we've seen by a Detroit Piston in quite a while, was dealing with what appeared to be a back issue and was taken out of a game. And then the official report comes back, and Cade Cunningham diagnosed with, and this is one of those injuries, just sounds brutal, collapsed lung. And there is currently no timetable for his return. I know nothing about diagnosing anybody with anything. I have no medical degree. I tried to look into how long it takes people to come back from this stuff, and I saw as short as 1 week and as long as 8 weeks. And look, I understand it's a team game, and I understand the fact that the Pistons' record without Cade Cunningham this year is bizarrely pretty good. Here's my expectations for this. I think in the short term, because the culture's so good, because the coaching staff is so good with JB at the top, the Pistons will find a way to tread water and rally a little bit. That is often kind of what happens in the early part of this stuff. You know, you say, you understand the fact that everyone's got to step up a little bit. You need a little bit more from everybody. And in the short term, you're able to win a few games, and I think they'll be able to do that. The long term, especially going into the playoffs, is what scares me. And I think if Cade is not able to come back even to 90%, let alone 100%, this is a Pistons team that could maybe get by the first round. I don't know if they'd get much beyond that, because there's been a lot of great things that we've seen coming from this Pistons organization over the last few years. The change has been night and day, and the results speak for themselves. Made the playoffs last year, right now the number one seed in the East this year, and I've credited Trajan Langdon, I've credited JB Bickerstaff, I've credited these players. Like I said, overnight it felt like they built a roster, and they deserve credit for that. But let's not kid ourselves. The biggest reason why the Pistons have gone from the bottom of the barrel to one of the top teams in the NBA has been the fact that they finally found something that they'd been missing forever, which is a genuine, honest-to-God superstar in this league. Cade is everything to this team. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He can score, he can pass, he's a good defender. There's very few flaws in his game, and this isn't even meant to be a knock on the Pistons necessarily. This is just what happens when you lose a star player for an extended period of time in the NBA. And yeah, I understand that the Pistons have had, by definition, a wonderful season, and they're going to continue to. And I think with a fully healthy Cade, and that's the one more thing I'll add here. Even with a fully healthy Cade, I think that we were starting to see some signs of regression. I think that we were starting to see this team slip a little bit. They had that 4-game losing streak a few weeks ago. But this, while by no means the nail in the coffin, this team still is comfortably in the playoffs. I mean, Jesus, they're the 1 seed. This is insanely concerning. This is the equivalent of losing your quarterback. And I think that they can survive for a time and even probably potentially maintain that 1 seed going into the postseason. I don't see a world in which the Pistons make a serious postseason run unless Cade finds a way to come back close to fully healthy going forward. Depressing news, obviously, and the guy you feel worst for in the situation is Cade, but anything I'm missing here, Austin, is a devastating blow been dealt to the Pistons today, or over the last week.
No, I don't think you're really missing anything on this. I would just, echo just about everything you already said. A lot of fans and a lot of people try to act like doctors when these things happen and, try to project when their players will be back and try to figure out how serious it is. All we really know right now is that he's out indefinitely and that he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. I tried to do some research myself. I saw, it could be as short as 2 weeks, potentially as long as 12 weeks. It can be a pretty severe injury, but generally, as bad as a collapsed lung sounds, generally it's not as bad as it sounds. I think they can find a way to tread water, for the rest of the regular season. It's a major bummer for a handful of reasons. Cade, I don't think he was the favorite to win the MVP in terms of his performance this season, but I think the 2 guys ahead of him weren't going to hit that. You have to hit like a 65-game minimum to be eligible for the MVP, and I think he was leading that. It looks like he's going to fall 4 games short if he doesn't come back in the regular season. I think right now the hope is that he's ready in time for the postseason. I think they've just about thrown out any idea that he's going to come back at any point in the regular season, which is a massive bummer because that would be the first MVP that the Pistons had, I believe, ever, if not in a long time anyways. But he's had a tremendous season. And, you know, if he can come back for the postseason, that would be huge. Who knows what the Pistons will be seeded at that point. You know, losing him, it changes everything because outside of the fact that he is an honest-to-God superstar, he is, I would say, the only one that they have right now. And, you know, Duren is a wonderful player, made the All-Star team. They have some really great complementary pieces. You know, JB Bickerstaff is a wonderful coach. But just the way that this team is built right now, it all moves through Cade. And, you know, they've already secured their playoff spot, so there's no need to, you know, worry about anything like that. But, you know, if they lose that 1 seed, that changes the matchups. You know, you don't know for sure that you're getting Cade back. If you do, is he 100%? You know, if you're getting a Cade that's at like 60, 70% or something like that, you know, what does that mean? Are you able to pull off maybe 1 series but not make, you know, a serious playoff run? This potentially changes everything, and at least for the time of being, it does. You know, every Pistons fan is going to be holding out hope that we get him back for the postseason, that he's going to be ready to go. But for right now, you know, I think everybody's kind of holding their breath.
Yeah, it's an undeniably devastating loss, and you know, you feel bad for Pistons fans who've waited a long time for a team like this. You wish the best for Cade. You know the guy's tough, and he's had some injuries in the past, but yeah, not much else to say. Obviously, a brutal injury for the Detroit Pistons.